Sunny day, 15 degrees at 7:33. Good morning, everyone. The United States expanding its fight against ISIS now with airstrikes in Syria overnight. U.S. Navy releasing this video showing the launching of Tomahawk land attack missiles. Also, Hornets taking off from the flight deck of the aircraft carrier USS George H.W. Bush. The U.S. and its Arab allies hitting ISIS targets, including training camps, headquarters, and weapons supply areas in northern and eastern Syria with dozens of air and missile strikes. U.S. strikes also hitting a separate group of al-Qaeda-affiliated militants in northern Syria. The American military is saying it launched 47 Tomahawks from warships in the Red Sea, used remotely piloted and bomber aircraft as well. The Britain-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says dozens of Islamic State fighters have been wounded or killed in the airstrikes overnight. Now, the terror group is ratcheting up the threats on Americans, Canadians, and other Western countries. Another new piece of tape, this time an audio message, is calling for lone wolf type of attacks inside Western countries. Canada is mentioned specifically. An ISIS leader on the tape calls on supporters to rig roads with explosives, to attack bases, to raid homes, to make sure people don't feel secure. A terrorism specialist from the University of Calgary says we just don't know if these threats are real.
Not surprising. The reality is that whether or not this is a credible threat, we simply don't know. Does ISIS actually have the reach to influence people back here to act? And this is something that we still don't know, and we're still trying to understand.
U.S. President Barack Obama heading to the United Nations today. He's hoping to bolster a coalition willing to strike the Islamic State group. That coalition now includes 5 Arab countries. It's 7:35. Back here in our country, we now know when suspended Senator Mike Duffy will have his day in court. His trial is set to begin April 7th. 41 days have been set aside for this politically charged case that could have all kinds of ramifications for the Stephen Harper Tories. Duffy's facing 31 charges, including fraud, breach of trust, and bribery. The last charge deals with a $90,000 check Duffy got from Nigel Wright, who was then Prime Minister Harper's chief of staff. The money was used to reimburse the Senate for challenged Duffy expense claims. In Calgary, no more expensing alcohol when city staff or other councillors are present. Councillors can still use city credit cards, though, to pay for booze when hosting outside parties or for special appreciation events. And the move dovetails a newspaper report showing some council members charging taxpayers for meals that included booze. While some don't agree with changing the rules, saying a glass of wine could be considered part of a meal, the mayor is applauding this decision.
If you're out for drinks with your workmates and nobody else, well, you can't expense alcohol to the taxpayer. Makes sense to me.
The new expensing rules, by the way, are in effect right away. A Lethbridge High School student is back in school again after being suspended last week for selling pop out of his locker. Since then, 17-year-old Keenan Shaw and his mother have been overwhelmed by the headlines and the news stories that have been generated by this. Keenan was selling regular pop in the school because the school cafeteria only stocks diet soft drinks. School officials suspending Keenan for a day, telling him to hit the sidewalk for his soda business.
Been a little slower because I can't advertise anymore, but media's done a lot of the advertising for me. If I have people come up to me, I'll just kind of walk up to the sidewalk with them, sell, and then go back in the school until someone else finds me. I never thought it would get this big. I thought it was just going to stay low.
Keenan's mom is planning to appeal the one-day suspension, by the way, because she thinks it's an overreaction to a very minor issue. Time to focus on business. We're checking in with our business editor, Mike Apple, joining us live from Toronto. Good morning, Mike.
Yeah, good morning, Ted. We're watching the markets slump again on both Bay and Wall Streets at the start of this trading day as, well, we had some developments overnight on a couple of fronts. First off, the military activity in Syria, the escalation of that by the U.S., that immediately brings in the whole geopolitical risk factors for investors. So they typically move away from stocks and right into oil and right into gold, and that's what's seeing some buying activity this morning. And added to the mix, last evening, we had comments from U.S. Treasury Secretary Jack Lew, who was attending the G20 Finance Ministers Summit in Australia, and he made specific reference to those tax inversion deals that have been all the rage this year in the United States, including Burger King buying Tim Hortons. And the U.S. Tax Department is basically bringing in changes effective immediately to close some of the loopholes involved with those type of deals. And this may immediately have implications on that Burger King $12 billion buyout of Tim Hortons and 8 others that are currently in the works, which are worth billions of dollars. The companies are not commenting yet. They're likely assessing what all this means. Burger King and Tim Hortons, for their part, have both previously said they weren't doing that deal for tax reasons, rather just to grow the company, but nevertheless, it's seeing both those stocks down in early trading activity this morning. Netflix Canada making some waves in Ottawa, Gatineau specifically, at those Let's Talk TV broadcast discussions, talking about the future of Canadian broadcast regulation and TV distribution. And basically, Netflix Canada was given until yesterday afternoon to give up their consumer subscription numbers here, confidential information, and they failed to do so. So could they face some regulation by the CRTC, or would they even be under that jurisdiction because they're a U.S.-based company? Have basically said they're not broadcasters, they're internet providers, rather. And we also have, this is either the best idea ever or maybe the worst, Starbucks test marketing in both Ohio and Florida a beer-flavored latte. It's called Dark Barrel Latte. They're saying it's just a test at this point, but nevertheless, if it's a success, you have to figure they'll be rolling that out. Just another innovation. It's not just pumpkin spice anymore, apparently. Yeah. It's more than that. No alcohol, though, involved.
Stout flavored coffee. Good stuff.
Stout flavored coffee. Good idea.
Mike Eppel chatting with us from 680 News in Toronto. 680 News is the sister radio station of 660 News right here in the city of Calgary. Stout flavored coffee. Who would have thought? I buy coffee for coffee. There you go.